Good morning. Welcome to CATEX-TV.
Every
My name
day,
is Frank
the world
Fortunato.
wakes
This
up
is a
and
live
goes to
broadcast
work,
from Princeton, New
pursuing the
Jersey.
unique
Today is Thursday,
opportunities
March
that lead
25th, 2010. It's 11:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time in the U.S., 3:30 p.m. in London. In Mexico City, it's 9:30 a.m. If you need to reach us during the broadcast, you can phone in toll-free at 1-866-67-CATEX. Overseas, our AOL instant mail address is CATEX-TV. We will not be breaking today for a commercial. We're going to be going straight through. Before I go into the news, there is a front page article in today's Wall Street Journal saying that Google co-founder Sergey Brin, an emigre from the Soviet Union, was in fact singularly responsible for the Google policy to stop censorship of its websites and to move their serving operation to Hong Kong. The stock market's up about 99 points right now. The unemployment numbers released by the government this morning in the U.S. were very good, showed the third straight report there had been a decline in the loss of jobs. Now to our main news. Some seismic news for the first three. A 6.0 magnitude earthquake struck west of Manila today, shook office buildings, sent workers out on the streets. There was no tsunami alert. The USGS put the quake at 6.1. It was at a depth of about 21 miles. You can see it struck the sea here west of Manila. In eastern Turkey, there was a 5.1 magnitude earthquake in the Turkish province of Elazig yesterday afternoon. This was 2 weeks after a quake killed about 80 people in roughly the same area. There have been no reports of any damage or injuries. And then last night in Chile, you see a 5.1 quake. This quake took place just north of Concepcion, where the big February 27th earthquake occurred. Insurance Day has a long article with a nice picture of Tom Bolt, the franchise director at Lloyd's. We'll quote a little bit from it. Mr. Bolt said the casualty business is now his major area of concern. He's concerned that some of the younger underwriters at Lloyd's do not have experience underwriting in tough conditions. You have underwriters, he said, who may have lived the bulk of their underwriting life in a profitable market. Currently, this is a reversal for a lot of the young guys. In particular, Bolt said he's concerned about claims inflation. He said the casualty rates had peaked in 03 and 04. There are signs now that the downward trend in rates is flattening, but he warned that the result is being skewed by the economic crisis. Bolt said because the economy has cut back, some claims activity is down. But if you look at the expectation of claim costs going forward, you should be pretty concerned about the casualty layer. Bolt said we continue to look at how people are managing their exposure, but I am not going to get involved to try to tell them what their pricing process should be. He said we will begin to take a much more careful look at what the syndicate's pricing process is and hope that they can identify what their walkaway point is. Marsh is making some news. They announced yesterday that their U.S. core business will not accept contingent commissions, but that it will accept contingent commissions in certain non-core operations. They said that their core broking operations would not accept contingent fees in any placement for any U.S. clients, and they would continue to provide clients with detailed disclosures on all quotes. The group said that Marsh Mac and Marsh McClellan agencies and Marsh Consumers Affinity programs would continue to accept contingent fees, which would be spelled out in plain language disclosure that would meet or exceed the New York disclosure regulations. Meanwhile, in the midst of the crisis globally, worldwide, governments running out of money, Alistair Darling pulling his hair out, the government of the UK on the brink of bankruptcy. Lloyd's chairman Lloyd Levine called for a lower tax to stem the exodus of insurance companies to offshore centers. This is being reported by the Guardian newspaper. Lord Levine said it's critical to maintain a business environment in London which builds on the many strengths that the city offers to global businesses. Alongside these, a competitive tax regime is important to retain existing business and to attract new opportunities to London. In the U.S., the New York Insurance Department made some news. Clarendon National Insurance Company has paid a $360,000 fine for overcharging auto insurance policyholders, and they've refunded customers almost $1 million. According to the New York Department, Clarendon improperly imposed a 30% rate hike on over 1,200 New York car insurance policyholders in April of 2006. The fine and refunds resulted from a department review of Clarendon which was conducted after Clarendon requested permission to withdraw from the private passenger automobile insurance market in New York. Clarendon had no comment. Aspen Re is making some news. They're in search of a Middle East partner, possibly a joint venture, after being encouraged by property and engineering fact business there. James Few, president of the company, said that they visited the region several times and continues to build a regional network. He said, "We would not rule out a JV or partnership, but will only do so if it makes strategic and financial sense for us." He said Aspen Re is interested in the Middle East, describing GDP growth there as dramatic. He said there are opportunities right now. The rates are highly competitive. Dubai World seems to be righting itself. The government in Dubai has announced that they will pick up the repayment of $26 billion in debts. In a statement this morning, officials from the Emirates said that the government would pump $9.5 billion of its own money immediately into the company, swap the funds it's owed for shares, and repay $14 billion to creditors over the next 8 years. The government said that they would provide significant financial resources to support Dubai Group's proposals to restructure its liabilities. The plan would also separate Dubai World from the property development arm of Nakheel, which will get $8 billion in new funds from the government and become a government-owned entity. There was a deadly car bomb in Colombia yesterday. 6 people were killed, 20 others injured when the bomb exploded in a taxi outside the mayor's office in the town of Buenaventura. The blast is the worst attack in the Colombian port city this year. It destroyed part of the chief provincial prosecutor's office. One of those killed in the blast was a policeman who was helping to evacuate people. Yesterday, in the midst of everything else he was doing, President Obama spoke on a video conference with Prime Minister Brown, Chancellor Merkel, and French President Sarkozy. The group said the conversation touched on Iran, the Middle East, and global economic issues. Mr. Sarkozy is going to meet with the president next week in Washington. The conversations occurred yesterday as European leaders in the Eurozone continue to work toward a financial rescue package for Greece. The Wall Street Journal reports that the Europeans are trying to get German backing for a rescue in return for an agreement by other countries to let the International Monetary Fund play a substantial role. Well, on our final story, this comes from Al Jazeera. Guess who? Pursued by predator drones, special forces, the Pakistani army and the Afghan army, living in some cave or a hut powered by a diesel generator, having a mobile dialysis machine, making sure that he's clinging to life, and hiding his 6-foot 6-inch frame from the prying eyes of cameras. Yes, it's true, Osama bin Laden has released another message. He's saying that he's threatening to kill American soldiers if Khalid Sheikh Mohammed is executed. Of course, Mr. Mohammed would have to be tried first. The government's trying to find out where to conduct that trial. Then he'd have to be found guilty, and then he'd have to be sentenced to death. Mr. bin Laden released an audio today. It was broadcast on Al Jazeera earlier today. He said the day America takes such a decision to execute Sheikh Mohammed, it would have to take a decision to execute whoever we capture. He also said that President Obama is following in the footsteps of his predecessor, reference, of course, to George Bush. Bin Laden said the politicians in the White House were practicing injustice by supporting Israel and its continuous occupation of Palestine. They used to think, he said, referring to Americans, that they were protected from the rage of the oppressed until our reaction was loudly heard on 9/11. The last audio recording, of course, came from bin Laden on January 24th. In that, he claimed responsibility for the underwear bomber who tried to blow up the Northwest plane landing in Detroit. They can't get this guy a minute too soon, as far as I'm concerned. And as Eric Holder, the Attorney General of the United States, said in testimony in front of the Senate last week, there's no need to worry about the venue for Mr. bin Laden's trial because, simply put, he's not going to be captured. We're going to kill him. Let's see when. Stock market remains up about 97 points. It's up at about 10,935. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.